Okay. Next, we go to departmental report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll ask the city's Assistant City Manager and Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Warren Wood, to come to the podium. Mr. Wood is going to kind of present the strategy and some of the steps the city's taking to prepare itself actually for the 2013 fiscal year.
Right. Mayor Wright, members of the City Council, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Crone, we do have before you tonight a resolution for consideration for approving a voluntary retirement incentives program. This will be the second time in the last couple of years that we will have offered this. And just a little background on why this is important. We're in the process of preparing for the FY 12-13 annual budget. And that's going to be a difficult budget. They've been difficult the last few years. But looking forward to FY 13-14 is going to be particularly difficult. So we've got a plan that we have developed to take some proactive steps in order to try to offset some of what we know is coming. And what we know is coming in FY 13-14, the city will lose about $425,000 in state revenue. That on top of the SAFER grant, which was the grant that added the 12 firefighters a number of years ago for the additional ladder company at the fire department, is scheduled to expire in that year. Now that grant has been incrementally dropping off. The full $450,000 that funded those firefighters will be the city's responsibility in that fiscal year. In addition to that, we don't see a way to really grow ourselves out of this in a traditional way in terms of normal revenue growth. We anticipate continued slow property tax and sales tax growth over the next couple of years. And just some other items, just fuel. Fuel prices are high now. If they're high in that year, then that'll be something that will need to be addressed. So there are a number of factors that are going to come together in FY 13-14 that we need to start taking steps this year to put a plan in place to try to offset that. Because if we don't, we know that the alternative might include a property tax increase and/or cutting core services. So that is what we're going to try to avoid by being proactive now and putting some plan in place to try to offset some of those losses. There's really not much we can do on the revenue side, so our work has to be on the expenditure side. And just to give you an idea, the issue tonight is the voluntary retirement incentives, but the other things that we're doing in conjunction with that is debt refinancing is one. At your last city council meeting, you approved a resolution to refinance the first few pieces of debt the city has, and at your next meeting there'll be another resolution doing the same thing. You're actually in a very good position from a debt perspective. Even with the rates you have, they're very competitive, but we're going to go from about 3.5% average rate down to about 2.5%. So that made it worth a while. That'll save about $700,000 over the course of about 15 years on the debt we've got outstanding. So in the general fund's in a particularly good position when it comes to debt. You'll be debt-free in your general fund for the next 6 or 7 years. So that's pretty considerable given the size city we are. Most of your debt is in the water and sewer fund, but this refinancing will have a benefit to the general fund as well. And we were disappointed with our debt refinancing when the investment markets get back on a normal footing. Your debt interest rates will be less than what we'll be earning on our money in the bank. So that's a good position to be in. The other thing, a significant item that we're going to recommend with the upcoming budget year, when you look out on our 5-year CIP, capital improvement plan, we're going to have about $2 million to $2.5 million more in expenses than we would anticipate having money dedicated for our capital improvement plan. And that's because there's a culmination of some odd projects or expenditures coming up that we wouldn't ordinarily have. We've got replacing the Falling Creek Bridge on Falling Creek Road. All the self-contained breathing apparatus at the fire department needs to be replaced. We've got 2 fire trucks. The lighting at LP Frank Stadium does not meet the professional baseball standards. So there's a number of just kind of odd things that are going to come up in the next year that really push our expenditures in our capital plan beyond what we would be able to fund. And what we're going to recommend is, City Council's been very disciplined for years in protecting and growing the fund balance. We don't have an excessive fund balance. We've got a healthy fund balance. So we're going to recommend taking a portion of that fund balance and dedicating it to the capital reserve to fund this gap in the 5-year capital plan. That way, our 5-year capital plan we know will be funded. Now, when we talk about our capital improvement plan, it's really a capital maintenance plan or a capital replacement plan. We're not talking about adding new recreation facilities, expanding libraries, adding new projects. We're talking about replacing fire trucks, replacing sanitation trucks, roofs on buildings. We're talking about really the meats and potatoes sorts of things, not new initiatives or new projects. So really a better word for our capital improvement plan is really a capital replacement or capital maintenance plan. But that would be significant. And that would be an appropriate use for fund balance that you built up. Another item, we're going to implement a compliance-based health insurance program. And this is really to offset what could be significant increases in your health insurance. Right now, we don't ask. Right now, if an individual on our health insurance plan is a tobacco user, you have a $43 a month payment you have to, or deduction from your check that you have to make for your health insurance. Other than that, you don't have anything. That could potentially change for some coworkers. Every year we have a health risk assessment done on every coworker. Let me give you a couple examples of the way the new plan will work. If I have high blood pressure, there's no reason in the world that I shouldn't be on high blood pressure medicine because it's free under the city's plan. If I have high cholesterol, no reason in the world I shouldn't be on cholesterol medicine because that's also free under the city's plan. If you have a number of factors that come up on your health risk assessment, and over the course of a year, you don't take steps if you don't take ownership of your health and take steps to remedy those things or show some improvement, then you will fall in a category where you're going to be asked to contribute to your health insurance. So it's a compliance-based health insurance program that we're going to move to basically asking coworkers, if the city's going to provide you health insurance, you're going to take ownership of your health and do some basic things to take care of yourself. So that's really a cost containment measure. National health insurance inflation runs about 10%. We have really been able to hold the line on our health insurance costs the last 3 years. We're moving more towards this over the past few years and getting more to the preventative side of things. So we've been very successful, and we want to keep that success going. We know that we can't afford increases in our health insurance costs in the next couple of years. Retirement incentives, that's what I'm going to talk about in more detail in a minute. What the retirement incentives will do, it'll give us flexibility as positions become vacant to eliminate or reassign folks and also potentially reorganize or restructure some departments. Right now you have some active turnover that occurs. This will give us even more vacancies to be able to maneuver and shift people around and produce some savings on the personnel side in terms of cost. And quite frankly, you're taking more tenured, higher paid employees. When they retire, you don't have as high an expense when you hire a new employee. And that's also the whole truth. So it does a couple of things for us. So let's talk a little bit about, this is a voluntary program, a voluntary retirement incentives program. Again, we did this 2 years ago. City Council approved it at that time. We had about 20 employees that accepted the incentives. Currently, we have 84 employees who are eligible for retirement. And your eligibility for retirement is determined by the North Carolina retirement system. The city doesn't determine that. If you're eligible to retire under their standards, then you meet the qualifications for this, being able to tap into this incentives program. Employees would have between July 1st and October 1st to retire, so they got a lot of time to think about it and plan and consider it and set things up if they were willing or interested in doing that. Actually, they have more time under this scenario than they did the last time. And the incentive that we would offer would be the exact same that was offered the last time we did this. It'll be a one-time payment of 50% of your salary in the 6 months of city-provided health insurance. Now, the little caveat there on 6 months of city-provided health insurance, if you're Medicare eligible, then you don't get the 6 months. You're on Medicare, so you don't get the city-provided health insurance. And also, if we have we've since eliminated it for new employees, but for employees that were grandfathered, if you're eligible for the extended health purchase, city health insurance on an extended basis, based on your years of service, you can get that in addition to the 6 months. So it's the exact same plan as last time. So if I'm making $40,000 a year and I sign up for the plan, I get a $20,000 check and retire, I get my health insurance for 6 months. It's about that simple. There is some paperwork that needs to be filled out, and Human Resources helps folks with that. And to pay ourselves back for making that payment of half your salary, we ask departments, or the requirement departments, to keep that position or an equivalent position vacant for 6 months to recoup that payout amount. So we're paying ourselves back during the course of the fiscal year. So just summarizing, this is part of a bigger plan to take steps to prepare for what we know is going to be a pretty difficult budgetary year in FY 13-14. We're going to reduce debt expenses through refinancing. We're going to request that City Council designate a portion of fund balance to fund the gap in our 5-year CIP. We're going to build more accountability into our health insurance program in order to contain costs there. Offer the another round of retirement incentives, which is why I'm here tonight. And that will allow us to do some things internally as far as eliminating, reassigning, potentially reorganizing some of the departments. So with that, I'll be able to be glad to answer any questions. And again, there is a resolution that we need to be voted on for your consideration.
Pretty similar to what we did last year.
Yes, it's almost identical. The only difference is we're offering it earlier this time than we did last time, which is really more beneficial to the co-op. They will have more time to consider all this.
So this is the Joan Pass plan?
Yes.
That she wrote?
Yes. Yes. That.
Pretty nice. Pretty good job.
On our capital improvement
Yes.
plan, the council will have a chance to review this as we prepare for 12-13 budget.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you
So
can-
we'll be looking through those items.
Right. I've got. We're fine tuning some of it, going through the departments, really picking out the things that we know will be vital. But I'll have that scheduled for folks for City Council to look at and to consider. It's got the complete list. And when you do the math, there's going to be a gap between $2 million and $2.5 million. Which is, on the scale of things, over 5 years, it's $500,000 a year, which is a lot of money. On an $85 million budget, it's not, catastrophic. I don't know what that
All right, do we have a motion to approve this recommendation?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jeff, second by Mrs. Fox. All in favor say aye. Excuse me, by Mrs. Patton. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. It's unanimous.